hello there again. It is October. We'll just say October 2025. And as we are about to close out the month in this last week of Halloween, we'd like to say hello and thank you for visiting the Mom and I podcast.
Hello.
Sounds like it's just I today. No, I'm just playing. But no, we welcome you. We just plan to give just another bit of our how I say our personality, our flair, our take on things. All things today. I say both Halloween and extra. I call it even extra because there will probably be things discussed past Halloween. But again, in accordance to the holiday falling on Friday, happy Halloween to all
Happy
those
Halloween.
who will be celebrating Halloween. Would you like to give a greeting or anything, or you pumped and ready to go, Mom?
I'm here and I'm ready to go.
Well, without further ado, the Mom and I podcast, Halloween 2025. So, Mom, what did you what do you enjoy about it, or what's your segment today that you would like to introduce us to your?
Well, I enjoy it. I enjoy the lights. I enjoy the kids, with the trick or treating. I enjoy a lot of the cartoons and some of the movies. Those things like that. I just enjoy the holiday spirit. Because
Okay.
usually once Halloween starts, then after that you go into really the season of holidays.
Yes.
But me personally, I believe it starts off the whole holiday season.
Yes. I agree with that.
I was gonna say I wanted to speak on some of the origins and some of the core beliefs
Okay.
of Halloween. Okay, where it, as far as like how they'll say Christian or pagan or whatever. So
Yes,
if we
ma'am.
start from the pagan roots, the name is Samhain, but it's spelled Samhain. Okay, that's the name of the Celtic festival,
Yes.
but it's pronounced Samhain. It originated an ancient Celtic festival.
Mhm.
Okay, it was marking the end of the summer and harvest and the beginning of the dark, cold winter. So it was called the Celtic New Year. The tradition, I will say, was the Celtics believed that on the night of Samhain, which was October 31st, the veil between the world of the living and the dead was thinnest, allowing spirits to return to earth. It says while it has pagan roots, the claim that Halloween is purely a satanic holiday is a modern misconception. It evolved over centuries through, different cultures and religions.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, okay, and then from the Christian influence, it says in the 18th century, Pope Gregory III designated November the 1st as a time to honor All Saints' Day. The evening before became known as All Hallows Eve, which we call Halloween. One thing I have to say about November the 1st and November the 2nd, though, besides this, is if we look at even the Mexican traditions, and that they might celebrate some that have to start at October 31st, but their Day of the Dead really is November 1st and 2nd. So November the 2nd was established by the church as a day to honor all the departed dead, just like the
Yes.
Day of the Dead. In some cultures, candles were lit on graves to light the soul's way, just like how Day of the Dead. And then the myth behind it, which is it says is purely American. The holiday is often thought of as a purely American commercial creation,
Mm-hmm.
but its deep roots are in Europe, Ireland, Scotland, and Britain. The common traditions for this, like costumes and masks, people dress up in scary or outlandish costumes. Okay, historically it was made to ward off spirits. During the Samhain, the Celtics would wear disguises, usually animal heads and skins, to confuse or ward off the evil spirits they believed were roaming the earth.
Yes.
Because you got to look at if they believed that this was a time when people would make it come through your loved ones, and that you also could get other spirits too.
Yep.
Irish immigrants were the ones who brought Stingy Jack and the turnips and all that to America, but they later changed it to pumpkins because it was easier and more plentiful to get pumpkins than to look for potatoes and turnips. Another one of the customs is trick or treating, where children go from door to door. And this evolved from several European customs. Souling, okay, souling is poor people or children going to door to beg for food called soul cakes. In exchange for praying for the home's dead relatives, if they would actually knock on the door, they would get treats, and those people who gave them treats would also pray for their dead relatives. Another one is guising, where it was a Scottish tradition where children wore costumes or guises as disguises and performed a song, joke, or poem in exchange for a treat. That's where the trick element came in. The Samhains, they were known for having mischievous acts or pranks in that. So that's where that trick part came in, like trick or treat. And the last one I have as far as tradition is about the black cats, because it's seen as a symbol of evil or whatever, how we look at the black cats. And this black cat's myth actually dates back from the Middle Ages. And during the witch hunts,
Mm-hmm.
you know how they would want to burn a witch at the stake, and they always associated the black cats with it because they claimed that the witches could turn into black cats. You know how they could transform into it.
Mm-hmm.
They were considered familiars or demonic in the in the eyes as far as with animals and that and the witch.
Yes.
So that's where that custom came from. So this is what I have on it.
Yes. Well, I will say that is interesting. Those were some interesting facts you brought up, or I would say stories and myths and legends. Well, when I decided to say I'll do something for Halloween, I said I'll do one of my favorite legends. And what would I know? My legend would actually tackle the three things I chose as like a myth, a truth, and a legend. Well, my truth, I'll just even start with it. My truth for Halloween is just basically we really do Halloween for the children, and I'd even say continuing up into adolescent. Like in my examples are when you're younger, you got more of the stereotypical Halloween things. You got like the orange pumpkin, your decorations, your things that you might let make a little noise and stuff. But when you get older, and the reason I say when you get older, because I feel like a lot of times we exclude the teenagers. We'll jump even to me straight to adults, where it's like teenagers can still be a part of it. And I'd even say those that decorate their yards more of, we'll say, kind of on the horror side. I know horror and teen and all that shouldn't probably really, but I really think when you dress it up as horror and you still interact with or have an interactive environment and things, like you can incorporate having an older audience that still wants to come trick or treat. When I was coming up in the 90s and early 2000s, I think a lot of focus on teenage years was us going out wreaking havoc versus actually going to get candy or enjoy something that's Halloween themed or based, because society told us that Halloween was no longer for us. We need to grow up. So, but I think if you have those interactive yards where you got maybe even Freddy, Jason, whatever else, or maybe even just know how to make it where it's more adult oriented or more even we'll say an everybody crowd. I feel like you're doing a service, but my overall truth is we really just do it to see people smile and really have an enjoyable time. So no one does it to go out and really go out their way to hurt. If they do, then let them be that one isolated person that you see. But that is my truth I'm going to lead with. But my myths and my mysteries and my legends, they're all really tied to one. They're all really tied to really one story. I'm going to say the legend of the Sleepy Hollow. Uh, as Mom just spoke on, a lot of the Sleepy Hollow comes from things that are even tied to the Samhain as far as like that culture. Even say some of the things that she touched on, they are directly like the fact that they come from different Irish and German backgrounds. Because even if you take the Legend of the Sleepy Hollow, is really taken from I think an Irish folklore called like Doolin. I know it's another one, and like I think in German ancestry as well, with the headless horseman, and the Irish ancestry was called like Dulin or Dulon. It means dark man, you know, Nat or whatever. So, but I also thought like when this is just me being goofy. When I started looking at how they compared, or let's say the characteristics that they gave him, the Dulin is considered a malevolent and death-bringing rather than merely a warning. He is said to call out the name of a person whose death is imminent, which ensures the person cannot escape their fate. He wields a whip made from a human spine and can lash at or blind anyone who dares witness him. He can lock gates and barriers, I should say, cannot stop him. But gold is believed to frighten him, providing potential protection. Now, the one thing that isolated to me that was funny is his head is on fire. You know, fiery eyes, blazing hooves on his horse and all that. But it just made me say, have I heard something like this before? I have, and it made me say, to me, he sounds like Ghost Rider.
I was getting ready to say that's what he sounded like, that movie that Nicolas Cage played in.
That's Ghost Rider. You know, even with the whip and all. So I was like, so how many things really can we look at for the Sleepy Hollow and say that things have came from it? And again, another thing that came from the Sleepy Hollow, like you touched on, witches. That's the thing that I was saying when you touched on something. Witches, for like our culture, really come from the Sleepy Hollow. But there's one distinct characteristic that was the witches even had, that was green skin. So then I said, where have I seen a green skin witch before? Wizard of Oz. And it's like, so when I got to looking at, you know, just the Sleepy Hollow, I felt like it tackled, you know, the things that we associate to it. So even the Wizard of Oz, you know, it's like, wow, you can see some inspiration for like other writers to me took from the you know. So
there's a little truth in all of it.
Yeah, it is. There's a little truth in all of it. But like how you touched on earlier, the Legend of the Sleepy Hollow, it comes from a different, you know, different background, really, because it says the story of Dylan includes the terrifying encounters, such as a rider appearing near gate yards or along roads at night. He may force blood into eyes of onlookers and cause death by naming victims, or travel on a death coach to collect souls. So a lot of the stuff, even hearing it, I was like, this makes me think of the Ghost Rider. But he embodies the theme of death and inevitability. Look at me. Words just kicking my butt. The supernatural is an Irish folklore. He contrasts with the banshee who warns of death. As the Dullahan actively brings it, this figure has influenced literature, art, and modern media, including American Headless Horseman and The Legend of the Sleepy Hollow, video games, and fantasy stories. So
you can see that even with the Reaper, even though I don't have nothing about the Reaper on here.
Yes.
But when you look at the Reaper, you can see that, and even the way they make them, even on stuff way back. What was the one? Get over here.
Scorpion.
You see, you know.
Yes.
When you look at some of the art, like how you were saying.
Yes. Oh, definitely.
Things and that, you know.
Yes. That's a definite. And how we ended up with it, Sleepy Hollow is renowned as a Halloween destination because of its association with Washington Irving's legendary tale, The Legend of the Sleepy Hollow, and his famous character, the Headless Horseman. So that's what just for us, you know. And I don't know if people know it's his in the short story or Washington Irving's short story, Legend of Sleepy Hollow. The story follows a school leader, Ichabod Crane,
Yeah.
and his encounter with the ghostly headless horseman, said to be the restless spirit of a soldier decapitated in the Revolutionary War. It's just said that this tale is central to America's Halloween stories because one thing, before I even expound on this, you touched on it earlier again too when you said people have their different traditions. They have their own oral traditions. It even makes this statement to say this tale is central to America's Halloween story, blending local history, folklore, and supernatural themes. So it's letting you know it's like their version of storytelling, as well as like the festival that you spoke on, the Samhain, and like I believe even if I can't tie it to it, I believe we got the Ghost Rider from the Sleepy Hollow, and I believe, of course, we got this that Green Witch, you know, because you can tie down, you know, even though I know the definition for her even being green, you know, is the fact that that's supposed to be persecution, supposed to be, you know, her being outcast and all that as well. So, you know, but I also look at, you know, that they're letting you know that that thing was synonymous to creating what they think that an image of a witch could be, you know, in the future, because it even says a green witch, historically a symbol of magic, nature, sometimes feared as misunderstood women, became intertwined with the with the Halloween through folklore, witch trials, and popular culture depictions, evolving into the iconic green skinned witch that we see today. But even when they correlate this, the witch that we see for Halloween, quote unquote, in America, it said that it came from really looking at Sleepy Hollow.
Because what's the
The green skin can symbolize nature, mystery, and the supernatural. In medieval mythology, green was associated with the untamed, unpredictable aspects of the natural world, linking practitioners of herbalism, healing, magic to wild and powerful forces of nature. These green witches often use herbs, and plants, sometimes to heal, which made them both respected and potentially feared. So it shows you like that, you know, they think that the Green Witch basically could do anything she want. But it was just funny to me that the Green Witch was so, you know, might as well say, you know, iconic, that even like how they said for the 1939 portrayal of a witch in the Margaret Hamilton's what green faced portrayal of the Wicked Witch of the West in
the
Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz, because with all the other witches were actually the good witch Glinda and
Mm-hmm.
all them. But then when it came to her, they was happy when that house fell on her.
Yep, because you said you spoke on it earlier when you talked about the witch trials. The context of green skin is really them saying like, you know, during that time these witches were evil. So yep. When you look at the witch trials and stuff, that's where the context of evils of green skin is because of the basically the persecution and bruising and stuff that they got. So yep. So, but those were really my two things. Was the like I said, the legend was the legend of the Sleepy Hollow, and my myth was the Green Witch myth. Where did we get it from? Where did it come from, and how far did it really go? All in really fun, I'm just saying. But even if you look at
Yeah, now that you're saying that,
Yoda,
and I got him on a witch hat and he's green.
yep. See,
Oh.
well, yep, ain't nothing wrong with that. But it is. It's one of those things where it made me see. It was a lot of stuff evolved from to me the Sleepy Hollow. Even though some people may not agree, but I'm like that whole story of the Doolan and how he go or Doulahan, however they, you know, I want to make sure I ain't butchering it either. But that is definitely the Ghost Rider. So
I'm gonna have to watch that now that you say I haven't seen the Ghost Rider in a long time. But that actually, you would think that they would show that kind of around Halloween too. They may have. I just haven't seen it.
Yes.
Well, one last thing. I'll say. I'll ask you during Halloween. What is your favorite treat? You know.
My favorite treat for Halloween. Mm, I don't really want it to be candy because I can get candy all year, but huh. I might have to say just because right now the fresh cider and donuts that you can get around. Yep, cider and donuts.
Mine is Reese's all year.
Yours is Reese's all year.
Reese's.
So what is if you had to say what is your favorite Halloween show or series or even movie for Halloween?
Mm,
If you had to pick, like if you had to say I have to see this movie during the Halloween during the month of October for Halloween.
it's a movie.
It could be whatever,
Well, because
movie,
I do love the
series.
Great Pumpkin for
Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown. I love that. Uh, I'll say for a cartoon. I love that.
Yes.
I'm trying to think.
What about like Halloween? Like that's not what you embody when you think of Halloween, like with Michael Myers.
Yeah, I would say well, of course, I've already seen all them now before Halloween and got here, but I think that makes it that and Jason.
And Jason.
Even though I know Jason is probably not just for Halloween, but we just associate that
Yes.
with it. But I know the Halloween films is one.
Yes. I think I'm gonna agree with you with Jason for some reason, because I watched Jason last week on Tubi. I think it was Tubi, whichever one of them. Yeah, I think it is. I think it's Tubi. I watched it on there the other day. Now if I had to say, I don't think I got a cartoon. I really don't. I don't think I have a cartoon for Halloween outside of the ones when I was a kid that you had made me. That tape that back in the day with like Bugs Bunny and all that stuff on it. Like now that was my cartoons I had to see back then. I watched that tape until I was at least like 14, 15 years old every year.
Well, what I would like to say is if whether you go out trick or treating or you stay at home, enjoy the holiday. Try to enjoy the holiday with your family, or even if it's just you by yourself. Make the best of it, hey, because you've been promised. You got that day, and you ain't promised too many, so you better enjoy it.
Yes.
But make this year a great one.
Do you got a word of the day? You ain't got no message for them? You ain't got no message you want to give to people, even the God may have gave you to speak to the people?
No, my main thing is to enjoy life. When you get up, look at the positive. There's so much positive, but we can see the negative in anything. But this year, decide on every holiday, starting with this one right now, coming up, that this is the best. Make it positive. And if you can spread cheer to other people, because we know that during the holiday season, that's the time when people actually show love. It should be all year, but that's the time around Christmas and that. Start it now in October. That's
So that's your word of the day, huh?
that's my word of the day. And I said it, and I'm sticking to it.
She says she's sticking to it. Well, I guess if that's all Mom had, I mean, I gave you what I have, so I do. I stand by even the same thing she spoke on. Just living your life, having tunnel vision, trying to make the best of your life. Always, to me, have a sight of your heart and your mental health and your mind before you take on somebody else's problems and we'll just say in trauma. So if I could say anything, just live life. Live life. Don't worry about the material things. Live life with the things that God gave you when you came here. That's like family, your initial family. Worry about the things you can even change in your direct life. So don't worry about the things that you can't. So because the things that you probably really can't change in a day anyway don't really, require you to really go that hard. I'll put it that way. Focus on the things you can do. I always like to say, do it in increments, so then you could see it. If everything is handed to you, or you did it all at one time, I guarantee you're not really gonna cherish it. So, but yep.
That's true. Yeah, I say that. I say also that be careful what you say. If you whatever you saying or doing or whatever, if it's not bringing joy or making that person better, then keep it to yourself.
Yep, exactly. Yep, and on that note, we appreciate you guys again. Happy Halloween, happy Day of the Dead, happy All Saints Day, happy All Souls Day, whichever one you do. But I know for me, for the maximum out of whichever one you choose, just be a good person, lend a good ear, be a good helper to those who may need your help, and just love those who you can, man, and
Amen.
live your life. But happy, I'll say, spiritual weekend.
Yep. And happy the rest of 2025.
Happy rest of 2025, as she said. And thank you again.
Bye.